Parliament has voted to establish an ad hoc committee to assess the flood relief and search mission in KwaZulu-Natal. This comes as the flood's death toll currently stands at 440. At least 60 people are still missing. This new committee will be tasked with monitoring the disaster relief funds in particular. To unpack this further, we're joined now by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Lechesa Tsenoli, who joins us via our video link this morning. Deputy Speaker, it's great to have you with us on the program. I want to begin with the most important question here, the oversight function of Parliament in effect in terms of the establishment of this ad hoc committee.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you, and happy Freedom Day, if I may say so. Let me also please start with expressing our condolences to the victims of these terrible floods, including those of COVID-19. I think it's worth us always remember that others are going through difficult times in their lives because of having lost their loved ones. Because of what has happened in the past and now, and what is also happening inside Parliament itself, it was critical that a decision be made to have both the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly create this joint committee to focus on interacting firstly with the committees that are directly related to the work that has to deal with disasters, COCTA, the social development, and so on, so that in drawing their program of action, there is coordination and proper alignment of the work that needs to be done to oversee the relief measures. The Premier yesterday outlined the 3 steps that the President had outlined to be followed. The country needs to follow that, give priority to providing assistance to people immediately, oversee that that happens and there are no gaps in doing so, and immediately provide relief to those who need where they stay, what they eat, and the clothing that they might need, and try and work with others, good-hearted people who are providing all sorts of support to ensure that we are able to reach the most destitute and those who would otherwise not have any support to do. And simultaneously oversee the initiation of what is likely to be medium to long-term programs. Already the speedy construction of a bridge to allow access to the harbor by many of the trade-related access to the port was a critical part. So this kind of things are going to be looked at, and to ensure that the kind of assistance that workers, for example, in those places who live in these areas have appropriate transport. I mean, I guess the access roads and things like those must be sorted out. Yeah. So the committee will first meet to establish this program of action, which will include the alignment that I'm talking with other committees, and then to interact with the executive, the various clusters of departments that are intervening in that area.
The Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institutions, constitutional bodies, have also launched their own sort of oversight plan in terms of the disbursement of funds in KwaZulu-Natal, Deputy Speaker. It's a worrying notion, isn't it, that we do feel this need for such extreme oversight in the disbursement of money, given previous experiences in our country, insofar as corruption is concerned?
Well, let's put it this way. I accept your calling it a worry. But this is what cooperative governance is about, that any problems that does not yield to any one department or two needs to respond to cooperative relations between various parts of the state. These institutions that support democracy were designed precisely in cases where things happen the way they have happened now, to be able to step in, to act in a supportive manner, to bring about our best intentions to realize. Yes, I agree with you. And in fact, this is why they are called what they are called, institutions that support democracy.
Yeah.
They include giving us assurance that we have to take extraordinary actions to reverse what is really an erosion of integrity that is unacceptable.
I hear what you're saying, absolutely. It is exactly what cooperative governance is about. But there is this very real fear that money will be redirected into the pockets of officials. Money that is meant for disaster relief will be, as we've seen under the COVID-19 pandemic, be redirected to benefit officials in government. There is a massive trust deficit here when it comes to money being dispensed insofar as the national state of disaster is concerned, and the hopes that that money will go where it's intended.
Yes, there are a minority of people who are doing that. You're absolutely right. Who are intent, even as things are happening, including during the process of inquiry by the Zondo Commission, we were still getting to hear stories of people acting in ways that are completely despicable, and those must be rooted out. A concerted action by the state machinery and the people themselves is a necessary remedy to deal with those issues, because they are not the government's problem, really. They are the people's problem. When things don't work well, as you correctly identify them, then all of us need to step in and correct them so that we return to and get to do things properly as it is expected of us. And of course, in the interest of those who are devastated by the effects of this thing, including their livelihood. The people who otherwise survive on their own wits, in their own initiatives that they are able to do, that cannot themselves survive in any way, needs to be protected and defended by all means necessary, including this one of working across our usual boundaries in a slower pace. For example, part of the reason this time around we've accepted an ad hoc committee is also because we are going to be having this month, next month in May, a series of mini plenaries to focus on the budget review reports, recommendations, which will be responding also to the historical work that's been done in a variety of areas in the country, including the allocations of those resources and what needs to be done about them. That's very important and crucial work. And those reports will surface solutions that have been put into place to deal with them. And this is why the two processes must happen at the same time.
Certainly. President Ramaphosa, of course, in Middelburg, in Mpumalanga, also reflecting on what this Freedom Day means, Deputy Speaker, and I think many people across the country will be celebrating and marking today with a bit of a heavy heart this morning.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, we are battered by storms. This is in the nature of a long journey, long, arduous, difficult journey, that the route often has the storms such as we are confronting now. And part of our optimism is that some of these things clearly had shown their signs elsewhere, and as they are being dealt with, there will be occasions like this year when we are confronting them with their magnitude. We have the benefit of some of the reports that have already been submitted to trigger various initiatives in state institutions to do corrections. So we have at least that advantage and that commitment of people, broadly speaking, civil society, organizations outside of the state that have been organized to ensure that the public itself gets to know what's happening, makes information available, and we all collectively take action to stop the rot that's threatening our democracy.
National Assembly Deputy Speaker Lechesa Tsenoli, thanks very much for waking up early and being with us on this Freedom Day. Parliament voting to establish an ad hoc committee to assess the flood relief and search mission in KwaZulu-Natal.